Good morning. I wanted to share with you um, the cutting guide for my Gracious album that I made using the Authentique Gracious. That I realized when I went to look for it, it was never posted on my YouTube channel, and I apologize for that. So I wanted to go ahead and recreate the album and show you how to make the cover, and along with the pages and all the different interaction pages within the book itself. And so, using um, Country Craft Creations Artesian cardstock in the red, I am going to recreate this album. So my covers is an 8.5 by 8.5 with a 3-inch spine. So I have my chipboard already cut and already covered in the score tape. You're going to need 2 pieces of 8.5 by 8.5 for the front and the back, and then 1 piece for 3 by 8.5 for the spine. I am going to use the new method that Tamara on Country Craft Creations shows on how to create your album covers, and they are actually very beautiful once it's all completed. So, using a piece 10.5 by 10.5 cardstock, and again, this is red artesian cardstock from Country Craft Creations. I'm going to go ahead and start my album. So this is a brand new technique that she showed on her YouTube channel on Country Craft Creations, Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations. And I've made one and I love it. So I decided to recreate this album using this new technique that she shares. And I think you're going to really find that you're going to like it too. So one of the tools that you do need is you need to cut you 2 pieces of chipboard that are 1 inch each. They're 1 by 12, but you don't need them. I mean, I'm not going to cut them down because I want to be able to use these on any project that I make. So using the Score Pal score sheets, I've got that already on the back of my chipboard, and I'm just going to line it up right here against my 1 inch tools. Okay, so after you make sure that they're down good, I want to make sure, get my phone folder, I know I have it around here somewhere, and I just like to go back over just to make sure that there's no air bubbles and it's well down on my paper. And then I'm going to just come and fold these over to make my nice clean edges. I'm doing that on all 4 sides. I want to make sure that my paper is very snug against my chipboard. So I'm just lightly going over my fold to make sure that it is snug to my chipboard. Okay. Then, by doing that, you've created cutting lines here for your corner. And all you want to do is come up and cut it right to the chipboard. I'm just cutting out the 4 corners, and by folding my paper over my chipboard, I have created my cutting lines for that, and I'm just cutting them right up to the chipboard. Now, because I want, when I fold these over, I want some clean lines, I'm going to fold this over and then come up right around the chipboard and just slam it up, miter at the corner off. On this side, I'm going to have to turn it over this way. Again, just leaning up against my chipboard. I'm just taking this and mitering it off. I'm doing all 4 corners. Now I use my score tape along the edges of my chipboard, so when I fold my flaps over, it's going to catch that paper and make sure that I have a secure bond between my flaps and onto my chipboard. And I use the wider one, the 3/8 on the edges of this. Now, because of this being a larger size chip board cover, I am going to use the score tape on the sides of my flaps. If it was a smaller one, like my 5x7 or a 6x6, I would not necessarily have to add the score tape here. I could just use my art glitter glue and make sure, you know, that it was small enough area that my glue didn't dry before I got it down. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and remove all these now that I have them on there. Now I'm going to take my art glitter glue and I'm going to run it just along the edge, but just put a nice little flow against the edge of the chipboard. I'm going to come up and add some in between that and my score tape. And then I'm going to fold it over. And adhere it down. And then I'm going to just take this and run it right across there, which helps break down the fibers and it really adhere it next to the chipboard. So we go ahead and do this side now. Okay. I got that one done. Nice clean edges. Okay, let's do the next one. Do the same thing. Place my 1-inch guide on my paper. And use the backing for my score tape. And I'm just going to hold these two here and just, okay, let me fold that down. I went over the edge on that. So, all right. There it goes. And we're going to do the same thing here. All right. Okay, for our second one, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold over the edges. Very gently crease it along that chipboard. Other side. And the last one. And I'm going just right up to the chipboard. Using my lines as my guide. Okay. I'm going to clean up the edges. Again, just resting right at the edge of that chipboard and just coming in at an angle. One more. Okay, got all 4 sides done. I ran out of that one. Alright. I'm going to just go ahead and use the bigger one because I don't have another roll of that smaller one down here. And I don't want to stop the video, so. Alright. Then I'm going to go ahead and add it to my edges. So because I use the 3/8 on these two sides, I'm not going to add the glitter glue up onto my paper. I'm just going to go right along the edge of the chipboard, because when I fold this over, that's going to grab right there on the area that's not got the glue on it. And I've got the score tape on the top, so I think I'm going to have it's going to adhere really good there without that extra glue. And because the glue has a tendency to not work right along with the score tape, so I think it'll be alright. I do want to add that glue next to that chipboard, because it's going to help loosen up the fibers and give me a nice clean. Okay, now these I had the 1/4, so I'm going to go ahead and do like I did with the other one and add my glue in that little area there. I want to make sure that I've got it down snug, and then that's our front and our back. Now let's do our spine. So for the spine, we're going to cut, I cut a piece of 6 by 10.5, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere my spine the same way I did that isn't what I wanted. I got the wrong paper. Hold on. I apologize for my coughing, but I'm just getting over some of the nasty crud. So, so my spine is 3 inches, so I only need this at 5, because I want to add 1 inch to each side. So I think that's where I messed up, so let me cut this down to 5. Again, I apologize for the cough. Alright. Line that up. And put my 1 inch there. And my 1 inch there. And then it's going to give me my 1 inch on each side. Now I'm going to just right up, right there. Okay. Okay, on the spine, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold it over, increase it like we did the first with the covers, and for the front and the back. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to come over here and I'm going to bend it this way, because we really want to make sure that this is encased in there. You got to be careful with your foam folder that you don't press too hard, because you don't want to tear your paper. to do these a little bit different. We're not going to bring these sides into this, okay? So we are going to glue this one all the way down. Same with the bottom. Adding the glue right against the edge of that. Coming over here. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to cut from this corner just to the top. And that right there. Same over here. Come over here. Just come right down to that corner. Here, there, from here to there. Is line these two up here. So I'm going to use my art glitter glue on this. And I don't want to put it right up against that hole. I don't want to put it in my little groove there. I just here that I don't want. Okay. I'm just going to butt it right up. Gently turn it over, and then take this and make sure that this is down on there. Okay. We're going to do the other side now. So I'm going to add my, what's wrong with my glue? Let me get it opened up here a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take this one and match it up right that side. Again, not too much glue there. You really don't want to be the glue to show through, so you just butt it right up one another. Gently flip it over, and then So for my inside, I want to cut this, since my board covers are 8.5, I'm going to go to 8 3/8 on this. And I'm going to go to, I'm going to go to 6 inches. And the reason, because I want to make sure that I have an inch on each side. And this is going to support my slide. So I'm going to take my score tape and I could have used a sheet, but I don't have the sheet down here because this piece is a little bit bigger than I could have used a sheet and made it a little bit quicker for me, but I'm okay. So I'm going to put these vertical because I want it to make sure that it grabs good. So I'm going to pull that one off. I'm going to pull them all off. I'm just going to add a little bit more, because I would have really liked to have had a score sheet on here, so I just want to make sure that it all adheres well. Probably a little bit more than I needed, but I'd rather make sure that it's really adhered. So holding this between, and I'm going to come out. And then I'm going to gently ease this over. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. And there's our cover. Okay. So I have I have about 6 inches that I want to cover, so I'm going to go 6 1/4, and then this one should be about 6. Yeah, so 6 1/4. Let me get a sheet of since I'm giving this away, I want to make sure that I have it totally covered. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces. So I want them, my book covers 8 1/2, so I'm going to go with 8 3/8. Or, yeah, 8 3/8. And I'm going to go 6 1/2. Just to see. So for this one, going to cover right. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, so I'm going to go 8 3/8. I'm going to cover it, go 8 1/2. Because I am giving this away, I want to make sure that it's fully covered. Right. So 8 1/2 is too big, so let's go 8 1/4. And 8 1/4 is good. Alright, so I'm going to do the same for the other side. So, another sheet. So I'm going to cut this one at 8 3/8. And then 8 1/4. And that's going to fit right on there. And I'm going to put those on with score sheets. I'm not going to use my score tape because that's a large area. So let's go ahead, before I stop and go get my score sheets, let's go ahead and get our hinge done. So you're going to want a sheet of 12 by, and that's, my pages are 8 inches. My pages are an 8 by 8, so I'm going to go 7 7/8 by 12. Okay. Alright, and then I'm going to score at 1 1/4, 1 1/2, and I'm going to score at 2, 2 1/2, 3, 3 1/2, 4, 4 1/2, 5, 5 1/2, 6, 6 1/2, 7, 7 1/2, and I want half-inch hinges with a half-inch gusset. So there's 1 hinge, gusset, hinge, gusset, 3rd hinge, gusset, 4th hinge, gusset. So I need 8, 8 1/2. So let me get double count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I want to go to 8 3/4. So that's going to give me 5 hinges for 5 pages and a 1/4 of an inch on each side of my hinge. So I'm going to, when I do my hinges, I like to use score tape as well. As you'll find, my pages I use all art glitter glue, but my covers I do, and hinges I try to use my score tape. I just feel a little bit more confident that it's going to hold a lot better. A lot of people use the art glitter glue, but when my albums get anywhere past 8 on up, I'm more comfortable with the score tape. So, and what I'm doing is, I already messed up. So I'm 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. What did I mess up for? So I've got, I see what I did. talking. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, because usually what I do is skip one, do tape, skip two, do tape, skip two, do tape. So I did it a little bit different here, but it's still going to work. So I'm going to take the remove tape off that, and I'm going to fold this over to the second 1/2 inch. Okay, and then I'm going to fold back my 1/4 right there. And then I've got my first hinge. I'm going to remove this one, and I'm going to fold it over again. Fold this back. And there gives me my two hinges. I'm going to fold this one over to my next half. Fold this back. That's 3 hinges. I'm going to fold this over. Fold this back. Okay, now this one, I went the opposite way, so I have to come over this way with that one. That's what I did. Alright. Let's take the wrong one. I'm going to fold this back over here and give me my 1/4. Okay, and then I'm going to lift that up. There's my 1 hinge, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you do want to play with your hinges because you want to break down that fiber so they are not as stiff when they move. Okay, so this is the side I started on, and that's got my, I've got my 1/4 score line there, so I want to go ahead and fold that over. Okay, and I'm going to use art glitter glue on this, and I need to put my cap back on, my pen in it. Here's my pen. And I do this all the time. I lose my pen. Oh, it's on here somewhere. It's in among us somewhere. And there it is, right here. I'm just going to come up to the edge of my 1/4 score line right there. Come over all the way. Got something in there clogging that up somehow. Let's sit down first. There we go. See, how fast the glue dries. So that's why I don't really like to use it on large pieces, because it dries so fast. So I'm going to lay that flat, and I'm going to fold this over and adhere it. Okay. Come back in. Just make sure it's down really good. All I'm doing is folding my hinges over. Okay. So now that's down. Now, when I come over to this side, I've got my 1/4 score line right there, and I want to fold it over. And you can see that once I glue this down, it's going to be wider than what I need. So I only need it at 3. I'm going to take about a 1/2 inch off of this. Cut a 1/2 inch off. Actually, I may take 3/4 in this. I have 2 blades on this cutter, and because I opened one with not realizing that I was using the wrong thing, and so I don't want to lose it. Okay, I took 3/4 off, and I'm going to come up, and I'm going to use my glue right against that score line, all the way over, down. Yep. Definitely making a mess with the glue today, aren't I? I don't know why that's happening. Or because I cleaned the cap and it wants to just cause me problems. I'm going to clean the tip. That's right, we got plenty of glue. Right. And I'm going to fold that right over. Right there. So with all that glue, I know that isn't going to come off, huh? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there is our hinge, and for our 5 pages. So once I get this glued down, and then we can add our hinge right there. And I am going to add the hinge to this and send it, even though I usually sometimes add my paper in the middle, because I want to make sure that it is down for her, because being that she really hasn't made a book before, I want to make sure that it is all the way down for her. So, alright. I'm going to have to go get the score pages, so we can do that. Then I can start adding the page. We got to make the pages next. So let's go ahead and make pages before I stop and do that. So the pages you're going to need are, you're going to need 5 cut of each size. So you're going to need an 8 by 8, 5 of those. And you're going to need 8 by 9. Okay? 5 of those. So you set the 8x8s aside. You want to bring up your 8x9s, and you want to score it at 1/2 inch on the 9-inch side at the top, 1/2 inch on each side. Okay, so let's go ahead and put my camera back on. 9 on top, score it at 1/2 inch, and 1/2 inch on the other side. And we've got 5 pages, so we're going to do it 5 times. Okay. Okay. These pages are just super simple. So what you want to do is you want to miter the corner on the top and on the bottom on one side only. Okay? You don't have to do it on this side, just one side. You want to fold your score lines over. This is the side that's going to be, this side is going to be the one that you did not miter, is going to be on your hinge. This side is going to be open for your pocket. So now you want to take one of your 8x8s, and we're going to adhere the page, make the page. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to come add my glitter, or glitter glue. Both my tabs. I'm going to take this and I want to line it up corner to corner, edge to edge. Okay, and then I want to come up here and match it edge to edge as well. And there's your page. So the side that's not miter is going to go on your hinge, just like this. Yeah, just like that. They're going to fit right on there. I like that. I knew they'd fit. And it's going to be a nice, snug fit. That's why I cut these down. I put 1/8 of an inch down smaller than my pages to make sure that they are on there tight. Okay, let's go ahead and finish up our pages. So let's go ahead and do the next one. Fold it over. I'm going to come in and miter my corners. Remember, on top and bottom, one side only. Add my adhesive. My 8x8. Edge to edge. And edge to edge. And I just like to keep my lighter edges to my right so I know that's the outer edge. That's the edge that's going to everybody's going to see when they look at your book. So. Okay. And okay. The next one. Line our edges. Let me go ahead and get this wedge. Okay, and our last one. Okay, all 5 of them are done. So, go ahead and start adding our design. So, looking back on our book, I'm going to start with page 1. So, we're going to have a horizontal waterfall coming this way, and a flap that opens up this way with an area for photos. And so we want to start with So for the waterfall, you're going to cut four by 4.5, and you're going to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to cut 7 of them. Okay, so that's our waterfall. And on your waterfall, so on your 4.5 inch side, you want to score at a 1/2 inch. So your waterfall, oh, no, that's wrong. On the 4 inch side, you're going to score it a 1/2 inch. So our waterfalls are going to be 3.5 by 4.5. So on the 4 inch side, you're going to go 1/2 inch. So 4 inches at the top, okay, and a 1/2 inch. 4 inches at the top and a 1/2 inch. 4 inches at the top and a 1/2 inch. And you're going to get 4 inches at the top, and a 1/2 inch, and 4 inches at the top and a 1/2 inch. And then you're going to need a 4.5 by 7.5. Okay, 4.5, 7.5 by 4.5. So we're going to go ahead and get the waterfall done first. Okay, and on that one, you are going to want, on the 7.5 inch side, you are going to want to score a 1/2 inch. You're also going to need a piece that is, for the waterfall, 1 1/4 by 4.5. And you want to score at a 1/2 inch as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and fold this over. So that is your flap that you're going to add to your page. Okay, so let's get our page out here. And we're adding that at the bottom and just right above. I gave it probably about a 1/4 of an inch. So it's not at the very bottom. I moved it up just a little bit. So go ahead and add your adhesive. And let's see. So if we put the page like this, I'm going to just kind of line this up at 1/8. So over to the edge. So I brought it up 1/8 from the bottom. Okay. Then you're going to take each one of your 4 by 4.5, fold your score line over on each one. One more. Alright, so we're going to create our waterfall. So you don't want to miter the edges at all on these. You just want to add your adhesive, and you want to just line it right up to the edge there, and right next to the one that you just put down, right on top of it. So making sure that you're even at the top and the bottom. Okay. Get your next one. Add your adhesive. And you're not going to put it on top of this. You're going to butt it right up to where it ended. You want to make sure that when you put it down that you're matching up your top and your bottom, so you're not going to end up crooked there. Alright? So they all match up. Do the next one. I'm just going to line it up here. This one. Mm-hmm. And your last one. Okay. Okay, I've got my score line here on the 1/2 inch, and what I'm doing is I'm adding this. I'm not folding it over, I'm using that as my guide. So, and I'm adding it to my very first one on the top. Okay, and we're going to put a magnet here, that's what's going to hold this all down. Okay, then you're going to need a piece of 5x8. 5x8. Okay, we're going to score it at 1/2 inch along the 5-inch side. And you do want to miter both corners. And I'm going to add it to the right hand side, and this is your fold over flap. like this. Here's your flap, and this folds over like that. And then when your magnet comes here and here, and it's going to hold it all down. Okay, so your flap. Here's your side pocket. So this is going to come over, and it's going to fold down like that. And because I'm giving this to somebody, I'm not doing the decorative edges. I'm going to have to allow them to do it, because if I use my tool, they may not have the same one I have. So, to when they do their pattern paper. So, okay, so that's page 1. The back of page 1 is you're going to do a pocket, and you're going to do a book. So the back is right here. You're doing a pocket, we're doing a little book, and then we're doing 2 mats. Okay. So our pages are 8.5 or 8 by 8. So you're going to want a 9 by 4. Okay. And you want to score along the 4-inch line. You want to come down and do a 1/2 inch. You're making your pocket. And then you're going to bring it over here and make a 1/2 inch this side and a 1/2 inch this side. And I'm going to come up and right in my corners. Okay, I'm going to bring this over to the back side, and I'm going to, now one thing with my pockets, I like to make sure that my edges on these are not overlapping. This one is overlapping just a little bit, so I'm going to come in and cut it more at a more angle, so that way I have a little bit of gap between those. That way my pockets lay nice and flat with no bulk. Okay. And I'm just going to match this up edge to edge. Okay, there's our pocket. You've got a 6 by 6 photo mat in there. You've got a 5 by 6 photo mat. And now we're going to do the booklet, and the booklet is 12 by 4 by 12, okay? And so we're going to obviously just score this right in half. So you're just going to score this at 6. And fold it over. Now, on mine, I put a magnet in here. because I wanted to make sure that this just fit and it stayed. So it was right in the middle. So I'm going to add a magnet here, and then I'll add a magnet inside the inside here and inside here. So when I put it in, that's going to hook right there, and it's going to not move around. Okay? So I've got to add a magnet, and I didn't bring them down, so I will do that. And I'm going to add a magnet here. Alright, so page 1 is front and back is done. Set those aside. Pull up page 2. Making sure what side is my edges that I tapered. So on page 2, we're just going to do 2 flaps. So page 2 is this one, and it just is 2 flaps. Okay. So you want, I do want to do this. So I'm going to do page 2 here. You're going to need to cut one piece at 7.5 by 6 and another piece 6.5 by 6. Okay, so on the 7.5 inch side, you want to score at 1/2 inch, and on the 6.5 inch side, you want to score at 1/2 inch. So your 7.5 one, we're going to adhere, and we're going to adhere it to the left-hand side of the page. We're not going to miter the edges on these because it's not hitting top to bottom, so we're okay there. So we're just going to add our art glitter glue, and our pages are 8 by 8. Our flap is 6 by 7.5, so I'm just going to eyeball it, but it should be 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom. Okay. Make sure that it's right on this edge there. And then on the other one, 6.5 by 6, that's going to go on your right hand side. And you don't need to miter the edges again because it's not meeting the edges of the pages. And you just want to line it up with the one that you already have down, so that they're even on both top and bottom. Okay. And of course I'm going to add a magnet here and a magnet to the back, and that's page 2. The back of page 2 is going to be another waterfall, and this is a vertical one. So we're going to cut 1, 2, 3 waterfalls, and then 1 main page. Okay, and then we're going to cut another pocket and a tag. So for this, you're going to need you're going to need 1 piece that is a 3.5 by 9. And I don't think you're going to need it by 9, you're going to need it by 8.5. You're not even going to need it that way. I measured that one wrong. So that actually averages out to be 8. So you're going to need a 3.5 by 8. So I need to cut this down. And let me change that on here before I forget. So you're going to need a 3.5 by 8, and you're going to score that at a 1/2 inch, right there. Then you're going to need cut 3 You're going to need to cut 3 that are 3 and 4 by, I just messed up. Okay, you want to cut 3 of them at 4 by 6.5. Those are your waterfalls. Then you want to cut a 4 by 8. Four by 8. So let me find a piece of scrap paper because I know I have some. 3.5. That one I need. 9. Okay. So 3 4 by 6.5, and then a 4 by 8. Here, rid of some of these papers here because I'm definitely getting myself confused. So let me find a 4 by 8 is what I need. It's 4 by 8. And we're going to score it at a 1/2 inch. Okay. Your 3 4 by 6.5, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. 6.5 along the top, 6.5 inch. You're going to make your waterfall base and your waterfall pages. Okay. So I'm going to fold this over. This is my 4 by 8. So my base is going to be 4 by 7.5. And then I'm going to add my 3 waterfalls on there. Okay. And again, on waterfalls, we don't paper the edges at all. This is going to be your top because you're going to hang it from the top of your page. You're going to add your waterfalls pages, just like we did on the other one. And I'm going to turn it sideways, so I'm going to match it up edge to edge. Okay. Alright, so let's get our page. Back of this. So that's the front, this is the back. And we're going to add adhesive here. Now, I'm going to try. So I don't want it right up to the edge, so I moved it over and I'm going to put it about 1/4 of an inch from the side. Because this is next to the hinge, I don't want it that close to the hinge. So I did it about, I'm going to move it over just, a 1/2 an inch. 1/2 inch from there, because I don't want it right up against the hinge. Alright. So there's your waterfall. Now we've got to create the bottom part. So the piece that I first had that I told you was wrong, and I went to cut it down. So the next piece is 3.5 by 9. And you want to score this right in half at 4.5. Alright, and this is our little booklet. Our little flip over booklet. Then you're going to need a piece that's 1.5 by 4. Okay? So I know we want to score one of that and a 1/2 inch, because that's going to hook up on, add it to the bottom. And we're going to add that right in the middle of, on the bottom, but make sure that it comes right in the middle of your waterfall. And again, I just eye it. If you want to measure it, that's fine, but I just eye it to where I want it in the middle. Okay. Then we're going to find where we want this. So this is about the middle right there. And I'm just going to add adhesive to a 1/2 inch. Alright, so I want this about, first off I want to make sure this is lined up, and it's not, because when I fold these I didn't fold it right. So what's good about paper is you can make it do what you want it to do and not what it wants to do. So we're going to go ahead and put this here, and I want it about there. So I'm going to come up and add this right here. Now, to reinforce this, I'm going to cut another piece that is 1.5. And I'm just going to attach it to the back. So, and I'm just going to glue it on the back. And the reason for this is I want to give I don't want this to rip on me. And I want it to have extra strength. So I'm going to add another piece of cardstock right on top of it to give it some strength and mobility. So, and that comes up over the bottom of the back. So that's going to give you, that's going to be stronger, and it's not going to bend on you, okay? Then when you add your pattern paper that's on both sides, that's going to make it even stronger. And of course, I'm going to have a magnet on the back of this, and a magnet to here, and that's going to hold your whole waterfall down. Alright, so that's page 2 front and page 2 back. Moving on to page 3. Page 3 has a flap, and then we have a little pocket flap that has a pocket in it and a mat. And then the flap up here also has a flap on top. So, you're going to need, on this one, let's see, so your 6x8 is going to be your flap. So you want to score on across the 6-inch across the top. You want to score it 1/2 inch. Okay. Our page 3 out here. Go ahead and fold that over. Now, because this is the full length of the page, you do want to miter the top and the bottom of your corners, so you don't have bulk when you add your pattern paper, and you won't see that bulk, that line. So, I've got something in this tip that is going to determine to clog it up on me for some reason. Alright, so page 3, this is our right side. And you're just going to line it up right on the edge. Okay, now you want a piece 4x6. And along the 6-inch side, come down 6-inch along the top, and then put that over. And we're going to add this to the middle of that flap we just added. So, again, I'm just eyeballing it. So it's 4 against the 6-inch flap. It's 1 inch on each side. And there. Okay. Now let's make our pocket. So for the pocket, you're going to want a piece that's 8.5 by 6.5 by 8.5. Okay. You're going to score along the 8.5. You're going to score to 4 1/4. 4 1/4. Scoring it right there. You want to turn it around on the 6.5. Score it 1/2 inch all the way down. Okay, and you want to score it, actually, you want to score this at 1/2 inch. You want to score this at 4, not 4 1/4. Just remove that one. Okay, so we're going to make our pocket. Okay. You want to cut your half inch right here. So, okay. And you want to cut down to your 4-inch. Wait a minute, let me think what I'm doing here. It's 8.5. So here's my 4. Okay, 8.5. You want to score it at 4 and then 1/2 inch. So. So you're going to have a pocket. You're going to have your flap that's going to hook to your page. And then we need to close this up. So I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive right here along the edge. And fold it over. And just bring it down. And then there's your flap. So there's your pocket. And you're going to bring that over. And I put it more closer to the, I did, brought it up. So I put it more in the middle. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to put it right about here. And that just gives you another element. And then you're going to have on your mat, you're going to have a, guess I didn't make the mat. Let me see what size we got. So it should be 3 7/8, 3 3 3/4 by 6 1/4. Okay. 6 1/4 by 3 3/4. And that will be the mat right in here. It'll fit right in there. And actually, it doesn't need to be 6. It's going to fit right in there. Okay, 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. Yeah, that's it right there. Okay. And turn it over the back. This is page 3. And on the back, we're going to do double pockets. So you're going to need 2 pieces that are 3 1/2 by 9. And these are your pockets, so you want to go ahead on the bottom one, you want to do a 1/2 inch on all 3 sides, okay? 1/2 inch on 3 sides. And 1/2 inch on 3 sides again. Miter your corners for your pocket. I'm going to go ahead and do both of them right now. Again, make sure that you have that room between the just barely on this one. Go ahead and, okay. Alright, so get our book. This is it. So I'm going to do the bottom one first. That's where I know where to put my second one. So go ahead and match it up at the bottom. Okay. And then I'm going to bring this one, and I'm going to bring it into and add it about at the 3.5 line. So that even. Okay, and there's our two pockets. Now, to make the little booklets for inside, I cut 4 pieces that are 3.25 by 4.5. So you want to, and these are for your cut aparts. So you want to 4.25, 4.25, fold it over, and there's your one book. Okay, 4.25. And I cut 4 of them. 4.25 and 4.25. And these are going to fit right in here. So 2 at the top. And 2 at the bottom. So that gives you more areas here for more photos. So you've got, you can put 3, 4 photos on each one of these. So that's going to give you more room for photos. So there's page 3 done. Okay. And we'll start page 4 here in just a second. I'm kind of clean up my mess a little bit. Okay, I wanted to come back in and finish up the completion of the cover. I went down upstairs and got more score sheets, so I added them to the back of my 8.5 and 8.25, and I'm just going to line it up and with the include the other one. And make sure I went a little over the edge with the score sheet, so I want to make sure that I'm pushing that back on inside so it's not on the outside. And again, I'm just going to line them up. Now the book is completed in there, and I'm going to go ahead and attach the hinge like I said, being that she's not ever made a mini book before, and so I just want this to be ready for her to go ahead and decorate with her pattern paper and embellishments that she wants to put on there. Okay. Why we okay, so that is, the cover is ready. Again, thanks for watching, and you'll see the pages following this, so stay tuned. All right, moving on to page 4. Page 4 has just one flap, and then it has a flap on top of the flap. So we're going to start doing that one. So for this one, you want to cut 2 pieces for the front of page 4, and that's going to be one is going to be 6.5 by 5.5, and then the other one is going to be 5 by 4.5. Okay, so on the 6.5 by 5.5, on the 6.5 along the top, you want to just score 1/2 inch, and then on the 4.5 by 5, you want to, with the 5 along the top, you want to score 1/2 inch. So those are the only 2 scores that you have to do. And we're going to add the 6.5 by 5.5 to our page. And again, our pages are 8.5 or 8 inch or 8 by 8. So I'm going about 1.5 inches, inch and a quarter down from the top and the bottom to center it. And my adhesive. Over, and then I'm going to fold this one over, add my adhesive, and I'm just going to line it up here on the top, in the middle. And I did bring down magnets, so I did add the magnets to the other pages. And they are here somewhere. I just had them. So I'm going to go ahead and add them to this, so that way they are done. And they will be done for her as well. And let's see. So I'm going to add my magnet here. And lift this up. Attach the magnet there. Fold it over. And that one's done. I'm going to flip it over. And on the back, we're doing the waterfall that goes this way across the middle. So now the one thing I am changing on this, you see how I've got it tied from the hinge side over? I'm going to tie it from this side this way, because when you open it, the way that the seam binding doesn't get all messed up in the seam when you shut it, but also when you can open it, it's still going to, the book lays flat enough that they will lay flat. So for that, we need to cut one piece that's going to be 4 by 8, and then you're going to cut 4 pieces that are 4 by 6. Okay, and then to make the waterfall, we're going to score these at 1/2 inch. So 6 along the top, come down at 1/2 inch. So your waterfalls are going to be 4 by 4 by 5.5. So a nice size for to hold like a 4 by 6 that you can cut down. So, all right. So. Just like with all the other waterfalls, we're going to fold on the score line. We're not tapering mitering any of the edges. Add my glue. Line it up with our base at the edge here. Okay. Take our next one. And again, just lining it up even with the one before that. And when I pull that over that one before, I just want to make sure that they're even down here. And I already messed up because I did not score this at 1/2 inch to add it to my paper. But that's okay, because I can still do it this way. No, that isn't how I wanted it. Alright, we're going to have to take these off here. And now, if I was using score tape, I wouldn't have been able to do this. But because I used the glue, I can still do it. And still save my paper that I have. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to make a 1/2 inch gusset here. So I want to take this and score it a half. Okay. So this is the right side, so this is the one I want. Take this and we put it in the middle. And then I'm going to go back on this one. And I'm just going to do it the opposite. Turn this around. I'm still going to do it this way. And then I'm going to add this one. Yeah, this is what I want to do it. I'm going to add it right here. The last one. Okay. So you're going to come like this, turn this over. This is going to tie, you're going to add the from here to here, and it's going to tie this way. So when you have it in the book, your binding will be up here. Okay, so that's page 4. Now we're going to go to page 5, which is our last page, and then we got to do the inside of the cover on both front and back. Okay, so page 5 is the front of page 5 is just 2 flaps again, and then the inside has a pocket. This one has a faux pocket here, but I'm going to go ahead and make it not a faux. I'm going to make it a real pocket because of the fact that she won't be able to take her paper down into it. So, all right. So, a little bit of a change there. So you're going to need to cut four pieces. Okay. So your first piece you want to cut is 5.5 by 8. 5.5 by 8, and that's going to go over here. Your next piece is going to be 4 3/4 by 8. And then you're going to get, this is the inside pocket, so you're going to have it 3 by 5 3/4. And then your inside pocket, you want 3.5 by 9. Okay, so let's start with the first one, which is your 5.5 by 8. You want to score it at 1/2 inch. Your next one is going to be 4.5 or 4 3/4 by 8, and you're going to score that at 1/2. Your next one is going to be your 3 by 5 3/4, and this is going to be a pocket, so you want to score it at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. Your next one is your 3.5 by 9. You want to score that on 1/2 inch on 3 sides again, because you're going to make another pocket for inside the flap. Alright, so I'm going to take, this is my 4 3/4 by 8, and that's going to go on my right hand side of my page. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. Now, because my page is 8 and this is the same size as my page, I'm going to miter the 2 ends. It just allows for a nice clean look when you add your pattern paper. Just make sure you're getting it edge to edge so it's not overlapping on one side, top or bottom. Okay, then my next one is going to be your 5.5 by 8. And again, on this one you want to miter your edges. That's going to go on your left side of your page. You want to take your 9 by 3.5 sheet and miter your edges for your pocket. Make sure you're not overlapping on your corners, flaps. And this one, we're adding to the outside of the flap on the left-hand side. Okay. And then the last one is going to be your pocket for in here. And this is your 5 3/4 by 3. And you're going to miter edges, corners. Oh, shoot, what did I do? Four 1/4. So I need this one to be it's a 1/2 inch too long, so I need to cut this half off. So that is going to be, should be 5 1/4, not 5 3/4. So now I'm going to have to, I want to make sure I change that in the directions. Cutting guide. So I want to do a 1/2 inch here, and then I'm going to re-glue it. Alright, let's try this again. Now again, this shows you how using your liquid adhesive versus score tapes, it allowed me to pick that up and save my project, save my paper, and be able to continue on where I need to be. So, alright, there is the pocket. So, it's 5 1/4, not 5 3/4. Okay, and this is going to allow her, when she adds her pattern paper, to actually go into the pocket. So she's not going to have to stop above it. Which, okay, so that comes over like that. Got to add a magnet. And this was just a tiny strip off the score sheet that I'm using that again, not wasting anything. Alright, so there's page 4 front. Now we got to do page 5 front, and now page 5 back. Page 5 back is a bottom flap and a top flap. So what we want to do is 2 pieces of paper. Let's see. One is 6.5 by 8. The other one is 4.5 by 8. So along the 4.5 side, this is your top flap. Bring it down 1/2 inch. And this is your bottom flap, 6.5 across, and score 1/2 inch. Now, one thing I'm also going to do on this is to prevent it from catching when we close the book on the hinge, because it's coming across. I'm going to cut this down to 7 7/8. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with this, and I'll show you why. Okay. So this is this is your right hand side. You're flipping it over, that's your left. So this is going to be your top of your page when you put it in, when you put it on the hinge. So you want to fold this over. And the reason I cut it down, and I don't want it to catch on my hinge when I close it up and fold it back over. So I cut it that short, and I'm going to go ahead and miter the one side. And I'm going to line it up over here. This is the top, so when you put this in the book, this is going to be on the hinge. So I want to prevent it from catching over there on the hinge and bending the corners. So I'm lining it up flush with my top of my page, leaving that little bit of 1/8 over here along here. So when it comes up and down, it's not going to, in my book, it's not going to catch. And I'll show you why. Here's what I mean. You can probably see it. See how this is bending right here? It's bent a little bit because it's when it's catching on here. By moving it all, leaving that little bit of 1/8 of an inch there, it's going to stop that from happening. So, again, this is the bottom. And we're going to, again, do the same thing with this one. We're going to make it flat, meet it up against the edge of the paper on the top half of the page. So not that side that hits the hinge, but the other one. So I'm going to line this one up way down here, right here at the very bottom, leaving that little 1/8 inch there. And it's not going to be real noticeable when you put your pattern paper in there, but it's going to make a big difference on the way it doesn't tear your paper up. And we're going to need a magnet on this one. I'm going to put the top magnet at the top. right here. And I'm going to put the magnet at the bottom. So I have my tape here to hold my magnet in place. That way they don't slip. Okay, add this one on here. Take the backing off. I'm going to pick that one up and lay this one down. And there you go. We have one more thing to do, and I didn't cut it, so we need to cut it now. A piece of scrap right here. Okay, so there's a pocket on the bottom of at the bottom of that bottom flap. So our page is 7 7/8. So I want we need to add an inch to that. So I'm going to cut this at 8 7/8, and then it's going to be, I'm just going to keep it at 3 1/2. Okay. So we're going to take and score 1/2 inch on 3 sides. And because this is it's not an even half, I'm going to turn it over and make the other half here. I'm going to go ahead and miter my corners. And line it up right at the bottom. So this page now has a top flap, the bottom flap, and then pocket. And we're done with all the pages. The only thing we have left to do now is the inside of the cover, front and back. And on this album, I made them both identical. So when we cut these papers, we're going to cut 2 of everything. So what we do for the front, we're going to do for the same for the back. And we're just going to reverse them when we put them on. So, for the front and the back, you need 2 4 3/4 by 8. And that isn't going to be right. It should be 8 1/2. Yeah. do that on this one too. 6 by... No, I did this one at 8.5. Did I do it at 8.5? 8.5, yeah. Okay, this one's good. So we need 2 that are 6 by 8.5. These I'm going to have to recut. And that's 4 3/4 by 8.5. Okay, no we don't. We're good. We're good. No, we aren't. Okay, now to that one. And then this is 4 by 9.5. That's right. Okay, you do want this one. This is the mats, so this is right. Okay, let's go. Let's just start here, so I'm not getting confused. Okay, so let's start with 2 6 by 8.5 and 2 5 by 8.5. Okay, let's do it that way. All right. So starting with the 5 by 8.5, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch with the 5 along the top. And I'm going to put one of these over here because that's for the back. And we're going to work on the front. And then you're going to do your 6 by 8.5. And you're going with the 6 along the top, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. Okay, that's that. So let's go ahead and let's get these going. Work on this one first, so I don't confuse us anymore. Okay, so these are 8.5, which is the same size as our cover. So you're going to miter your corners. Okay. And do the same with your other piece. Miter your corners. Okay. So your 5 by 8.5 is going to go on your right hand side, right over here. It's going to fit right there. And just make sure that it lines up, top to bottom, up against the side of the book or your page. So I'm going to bring this up. That should be right there. So when you open your album, you're going to open it this way. This one is going to go on your left-hand side. I'm going to turn the book around this way. And I'm just going to, you don't want to go into that valley where your book folds over, so you want to go right before the score line. And again, make sure you got it even, top to bottom. Okay, so that folds over. And my tops and my bottoms are not matching up. And it's real important that you want to make sure that they're matching. Okay. Your next two pieces that you're going to cut are your inside flaps. So you're going to cut two pieces 6 by 7 and two pieces that are 5 by 7 or 5 by 6. I'm sorry, 5 by 6. So the 6 being that this is it, 6 up across, up at the top. You want to score half, score half. Okay. So I told you to score the first one drawing. You want to score 5 at the top and score half down, half an inch. 5 at the top because they're going to be 6 inches long. So and that's what's nice about the artesian cardstock is you can rub that that mark I made for the score line. I could rub that right out. Okay, this is going to be 7. We're going to score it half an inch. This is going to be 7. We're going to score it a half an inch. And 2 of these go over on the other one. So taking the 6 by 7, and that one's going to go over here and right on top of that one. We don't have to miter the corners on these because they're not meeting edge to edge. And I'm just going to eyeball it again. It's about an inch from the top and an inch from the bottom. And take your other one, your 5 by 6. Okay, and again, I'm sorry, I have to turn this because I want to match up my, definitely want to match up my edges. And I'm going to come right over here to this score line and lay it down. I don't want to go over the score line, I just want to come right up next to it. So you have this flap, that comes down, that comes down, this comes down, this comes over, and then on this one, you're going to have two pieces of cardstock cut 4 by 9.5. And you want to do a 1/2 inch on 3 sides, because this is your outside pocket. And my scissors. I think I'm losing things or I'm dropping things. Okay, I just had them, so I know they're here. Oh, yep, they fell all the way over there, underneath my table. You're with me here. All right. Go ahead and score the other one where I have the board off. So 1/2 inch. Half inch and 1/2 inch. So we're going to fold over your scores. We're going to add this pocket right on top of that first, the right hand side flap. Okay. And then for the inside mat for your pocket, you want to cut a 4 3/4 by 8, and that's going to fit right in there. Right. Right. And there's your. So let's do the same thing. Repeat it to the back. The only thing difference is your smaller flap with your pocket's going to be on the outer edge. This is going to go on the inside edge. It's opposite of what we did. Same thing that we did as far as placement, but just going the opposite way. I'm going to line this right up here on the edge. sure that your page is lining up with each other. You might happen to do it perfectly that time. Okay. So our 7.5 by 6 is going to go on your right hand side. And again, I'm just going to eyeball it about 1.25 inches from each side. Not over the score line, just button up to it. The other one's going to go right here. Lining them up, not going over the score line. Comes over. Okay. This folds over this way. We still have to add magnets here. And then we want to add our pocket to the outer edge. Okay, there's that pocket. We're going to put the mat in here, right there, and I just got to add my magnets now. And I'm going to score tape. Put my egg down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put the positive magnets on because I don't have any more negative magnets down here. But when I do, I will add it here, and then it will go right here. Okay, it's going to go just on top of this one here. And that way I'll hold it down. I'm going to do that same thing over here. The only other thing I'm going to have to do is cut mats for this side pockets. And they're going to be, the pages are 8.5 by 8.5. So I'm going to cut them, or 8 by 8, I'm sorry. So I'm going to cut them at 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. And our album is done. I'm hoping that it will be a nice gift, and she would enjoy actually adding the decorative paper and making her own album. I mean, basically, I've done just the shell, the pages, and the decorative pattern paper, and your embellishments is what makes your books. So she can say this is her first scrapbook because of that. And these are not, they're wider than I thought, so I'm going to cut these down. So I have these mats at 5 3/4. I'm going to cut them down to I'm going to cut them down by 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go to 4 1/4 with them because I didn't like the way they were overhanging. And 4 1/4 is still going to give you a nice mat area for photos that are 4 by 4 or 3 by 4s. So these, and this fits right in this pocket a little bit better. So I like that better. All right, there you go. And I'll be adding those other magnets. Hopefully she'll share with us when she gets it done. So, all right. Thanks again for watching. And if you have any questions, please leave a message on the below in the description, and I will respond back to you as soon as I can. The cutting guide for this album will be in the description. And also I will put it on as an attachment with on my YouTube. So again, thanks again for watching and joining me, and have a great day. Bye bye.